Dzień dobry Państwu, możemy zaczynać. Proszę Państwa, dzisiaj gościmy pana doktora Daryla Rooneya z Dublina. Jest bezpośrednie połączenie lotnicze Lublin-Dublin, także pan doktor wykorzystał. Być może w odwrotną stronę my też kiedyś skorzystamy, chociaż Irlandia jest dosyć droga, ale atrakcyjna. W każdym razie dzisiaj doktor Daryl Rooney przedstawi nam wykład o postrzeganiu Irlandczyków, jak różnych rodzajów postrzegania Irlandczyków w tekstach średniowiecznych. Profesor dr Rooney jest absolwentem Trinity College w Dublinie, a więc bardzo takiego znanego uniwersytetu, ale jednocześnie stopień wstępny licencjat robił na Uniwersytecie Państwowym w Dublinie, także oba najważniejsze uniwersytety w Irlandii są jego alma mater. Obecnie dr Rooney pracuje jako wykładowca w Trinity College i jednocześnie jako taki historyk rezydent w muzeum, w Little Museum of Dublin. So, Dr. Rooney, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope your English is better than my Polish, and I hope that everything Professor Plaszyński said there was kind, but I think it was. So you'll have to bear with me a little bit in an attempt to be very conscious of the climate emergency. I didn't print my paper, but now because my laptop is hooked up, I have to use this to read my lecture. So hopefully everything will go okay. Colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen, it's an immense privilege to have been invited to speak to you all here this morning in this fine institution in this beautiful city, Lublin, which is not so far from home for me. In fact, only 7 letters of the alphabet separate Dublin from Lublin. Sincere thanks to Professor Plaszyński for the invitation and to Dr. Martha Novak for organisation. I think I can use that title. Maybe it's not official, but I think I can. Well, I am. I'm going to use it anyway. So congratulations, Dr. Novak, on the result yesterday. Well done, congratulations. Like Professor Plaszyński and other colleagues here in UMCS, I'm interested in identity, in the different things that make us who we are. I'm particularly fascinated with the perception and stereotyping of others, religious, ethnic, racial, sexual, and gendered others. In this lecture this morning, I will explore medieval writers' perceptions and attitudes and depictions of the Irish from the early medieval period to the late 12th century. It is a broad sweep of history, I appreciate that, and I do hope I will be able to successfully squeeze a semester's worth of lecture material into the next 60 minutes or so. Ireland's patron saint, Patrick, provides us with evidence of the early medieval Romano-British view of Ireland. Although born and raised on the west coast of Britain, his 5th century Epistola ad Milites Corotiki tells us that he left his parents and his homeland behind in order to teach the Irish the proper ways of Christianity. This is of Irish writers describing either themselves or the Irish people as barbarians. You will not find any instance of the Irish being referring to themselves as being barbarians, certainly not in any Irish annals. However, there may be potential evidence for such a phenomenon to be found in a letter Bernard of Clairvaux sent to Dermot mac Morchada, who was the King of Leinster, and it certainly does the saint no credit. In Epistola Confraternitatis ad Dignitarium Hibernia Regem, Bernard writes to Dermot, quote unquote, the sublime and glorious King of Ireland, praising his foundation of a Cistercian abbey in Wicklow. This was, of course, as I mentioned here, Marcall, the King of Leinster, who was never fortunate enough to be High King of Ireland. No doubt, Dermot was quite pleased with himself when he saw that Bernard of Clairvaux had thought so highly of him that he would refer to him as the king of the entire country, not just his regional kingdom of Leinster. Perhaps Bernard had intended to use such flattery to soften the effect of the rest of his letter to Dermot. For Bernard writes that Dermot, we have heard of your glory in our land and have rejoiced. Deeds. The soldier abandoned the campaign in Ireland, so William of Canterbury tells us, and vowed to travel to Canterbury on pilgrimage, where he was immediately healed of his ailment. As a monk of Canterbury, William's criticism of Henry may be unsurprising, especially given the general backlash, not least from Pope Innocent III, that Henry received at the time for his role in Becket's murder. England himself, Henry II, at this council in the winter of 1171-2. We know very little about the background contexts of this meeting, or indeed the response of Irish bishops to the hasty organisation of the council at Henry's request, or the fact that the English king was under personal interdict for his role in the murder of Thomas Becket. However, thanks to Gerald of Wales, we do have a fairly detailed account of its proceedings and the decrees of that council, which Gerald claims to have written verbatim. We are told, quote unquote, the enormities and filth of that land and people were examined, recounted in a public hearing, and recorded by the Bishop of Lismore, O'Conaraga, who presided over the inquiry. However, the attitudes towards warfare, especially against barbarian Christians. Utilising the opposing views of Gerald's cousin, Raymond Le Gros, and Hervé de Montmorency, a military leader, Gerald relates by commending the Irish clergy in respect of their religious practice, in particular their chastity, which was nothing short of preeminent and outstanding, according to Gerald, he laid into his Irish counterparts, censuring them for their drunkenness, while the Irish prelates were singled out for their carelessness and negligence in their pastoral duties.